Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys and gals. It's my Here Comes the Bride series, part 9. Samantha Drew Collins, played by actress Virginia Vestoff, marries Quentin Collins, played by David Selby, of course. This actually happens in 1840. Well, we are actually time traveling here instead of just parallel time. Instead of just Quentin's staircase, right? Which I love the fact that they actually have a staircase that takes you through time in Dark Shadows. Really, really cool. So I just have a lot of issues with this marriage simply because, for one, she goes from, being worried about her husband and her son, and I've always got the feeling that Virginia Vestoff's character was always going to sort of play heel in this story. And she sort of gives that feeling off because it's not that she's not concerned about Quentin, but I've always got the feeling that she was more concerned about Tat Collins, their son, than more so than her husband. I'm not saying she didn't express that concern. She did. But when Gerard Stiles, played by actor James Storm, by the way, great actor. I love how James Storm played Gerard Stiles before he even became Judah Zachary. This was just so smooth. I'm talking, there's Gerard Stiles should have been a present day, should have been a present day character instead of a character back in time. They could have done so much with. I mean, James Storm did a lot with this character, and it really shows. I mean, he does not get the credit he deserves. He doesn't. James Storm, amazing actor playing Gerard Stiles. He's going to go on to become the heel in this story simply because, and again, I'm going to get into the marriage because this all sort of evolves around this. He's not Judah Zachary yet. Judah Zachary has not possessed Gerard Stiles here yet. And because remember, that's why Julia ends up going back to 1840 to get away from the zombies, the horde of zombies that Judah Zachary has summoned in the present day. Awesome scene, by the way. And again, I've always felt that by the tail end of Dark Shadows, by this, George A. Romero, it felt like was writing and directing Dark Shadows at times. Not that he ever did, but it felt like it to me. And it just, because it was like, holy, like, this is, like, doom is imminent. Like, things are just going to go really bad now. And it was great. It was great to watch this. And so, because it gave you that sense of, if Julia and Barnabas are running, if Julia and Barnabas aren't safe, no one's safe. And that's the one thing that was so great about this timeline, going into 1840. Really, I know I'm going off on a tangent, so I apologize. But I really want to get into this final Here Comes the Bride, because it's a big one. So Virginia Vestoff's character, Samantha Drew Collins, has a brother and a sister, and obviously we know Roxanne is the sister, and they're going to be involved somewhat in this story too. Yes, I more love the brother and sister than I do Virginia Vestoff's character. Virginia Vestoff plays a great, again, the one thing I will give her credit for is she plays a phenomenal heel. She is probably one of the most unsung female heels throughout Dark Shadows. She really is. I mean, she goes from, okay, she thinks her husband and son are dead. I'll give her that pass, right? She marries Gerard Stiles. No sooner does she marry Gerard, because Gerard has been romancing her. He's been sort of, making his move. James Storm, again, great actor. Virginia Vestoff, great actress. Just great chemistry by both of them. In walks David Selby's Quentin Collins. Boom. It's so good. It's we thought you were dead. And even Quentin says, so did I. I thought we were gone too. I thought we were done for sure. Even Gerard's account, I think it's important to note here. Gerard Stiles is not a heel here at the beginning. Gerard Stiles is really never a heel in this story to me. And I know there are going to be people who go, oh, come on. To me, he's not a heel. Because he's telling the truth when he says that he thought they were dead. They went overboard. And even David Selby's character confirms the story. I mean, he could look, if the story were bullshit, right? If the story were a lie, David Selby's character would what? Say, no, that didn't happen that way. He could make an accusation at Gerard. He doesn't. He doesn't make any accusation at Gerard Stiles at all. He confirms Gerard's story that yes, that did happen. Tad is still recovering, which is a great way to cover. To sort of keep, David Hennessy from being revealed yet at this point. He is going to be part of the story as Tad. And, so that Samantha Drew Collins and Quentin have a son named Tat Collins. And throughout this story, you're going to hear Samantha tell Quentin that Tad's not really his son. And it turns out that Tad really is his son, which I never really got the point of it, of doing this. And I think it was just, again, Virginia Vestoff's character, to me, I'm not saying Judah Zachary isn't the main heel here. He is, without a shadow of a doubt. And I'll get into that here in a second. But Virginia Vestoff character is as much of a heel as Judah Zachary. They're sort of complementing each other, 1 and 1A. And because Virginia Vestoff's character, after Quentin is arrested for witchcraft, is even going to the trouble of help framing Quentin for witchcraft. It's not about whether he is or isn't anymore for her. It's about just getting rid of him, because once he sees that Virginia's character has moved on with Gerard, he's sort of, okay, there's nothing I can do to really stop what you did, because you went and married someone else because you thought I was dead. And so he begins to fall for Daphne Heritage as well. And this pisses Virginia Vestoff's character off something fierce. Again, Virginia's Vestoff's character is sort of on the outs. And you could say, well, Quentin pushes her to be a heel. I would disagree. He really doesn't. She's more becoming a heel of her own accord. She's becoming a heel because she's mad at Gerard. She's really pissed at Quentin. And in many ways, you're sort of wondering how these two got married to begin with. Because you get that Virginia Vestoff's character cares about Tat, her and Quentin's son, even after Tat comes back. But you more get the sense that there's this strained relationship between Quentin and Samantha. And it's really well done. It's really well acted, well written. 1840 does not get enough credit for its writing and how it's done. I'm talking the whole plot of it. The build up to all of this was very well done. If you really want to go back to where it really began, for this plot, you got to go back to 1995. As Barnabas and Julie are coming from 1970 parallel time. And that's something I'll get into at a later date. But it's really well set up by that for them to eventually go back to 1840, to go back in time from 1970 regular time. When Barnabas and Julia go back, come to 1995, the future, and Collinwood's in ruin. I guess I'm going into it now. Um, it is the most gut punching thing you see in forever in Dark Shadows. I mean, you have not seen this much destruction in Dark Shadows. Collinwood was never touched, ever, and in every way, you know, Collinwood, because we've stopped really going into town. We haven't gone into the Blue Whale in forever. Collinwood has become our world, and so when you see it destroyed, it's like, holy shit! Like, what now? And they answer that question right away, because you have Barnabas and Julie who are sort of investigating, hey, what happened here? They're talking to crazy Carolyn. Quentin's gone mad. Uh, Professor Stokes is a broken man. I mean, it's everything is a punch. Uh, Elizabeth's gone. David's gone. They're dead. It's just everything has fallen to ashes, pretty much. And they're like, why? Like, what's going on? And even how they found out David's dead is really shocking. Quentin, that's not David you see in the playroom. That's Tad. David's dead. And that's what Barnabas is shocked at. Again, Dark Shadows at the tail end, it never stopped taking risk. Ever. And that's something it doesn't get enough credit for. Dark Shadows never played it safe. Ever. In its entire series, this show never once played it safe. And I give it all the credit in the world for that. So once Barnabas, and Julia are in 1995 and they're investigating this, and they finally learn there's this ghost, this Gerard Stiles. They're wondering, what is this? So they go back to 1970. They Barnabas and Julia leave 1995. They get back to 1970 their time. They make it back, right? So once they make it back, they're warning everybody of what's going to happen, because they've been told what's going to happen. But a lot of things that they're saying are sort of falling on deaf ears, because well, wait, that's already happened. Like, there's already been a what is it? What's that birthday thing? Reading, I forget. But horoscope. There's already been a horoscope reading. So they're sort of perplexed by this, and obviously, Quentin begins to lie to them. Things begin to fall apart. They don't realize that Roxanne Drew is a vampire. I love how that's done. That, to me, Roxanne Drew was, to me, the second best vampire ever. I love how they did her, how it was done in a mystery. I'm a sucker for that. You could call me one for that. I love that. I know I'm getting off into a tangent. This is going to be a long video for my Here Comes the Bride, because this all connects, really. And so Samantha Drew guardian is Sebastian Shaw, who I believe is the son or grandson of Timothy Shaw, which is really interesting. So Christopher Pinnock is playing Sebastian Shaw. I love Sebastian Shaw. I love the character. I love the concept, because Sebastian Shaw really does have the ability to read horoscopes. This is not a flim flam man here. Even though because he says, he confronts Roxanne Drew. He says, this is wrong. They're headed for disaster. Like, he he feels guilty about doing it. And I love that conscience from Christopher Pinock's character. It's really one of the most underrated characters he got to play. And I wish we'd have got more of him. That's just me. So the horror of going into 1840 is not that 1995 just happens, that Barnabas and Julia get to see how it happened. When they go back to 1970, their time, they slowly begin to watch how things decay and unfold. And it's really heartbreaking, and it's just as gut-punching as 1995 because you get to witness it. That's the beauty of Dark Shadows, and its gothic tale is they're not just afraid to show you something that did happen. They're not afraid to just show you something that happened. They're unafraid of to show you something how it happened. They're not afraid to pull that punch. They're not afraid to throw that punch at you. And that's what's so great about it. It's like just when you think you've seen the most horrific thing, here comes something worse. And that's really such great storytelling. Because just when you think you can't throw any more at me that's more heartbreaking than that. Wrong. Wrong. And I love Dark Shadows for that. It does not get enough credit for the great storytelling, the great writing, and the great acting. So, going into the past, everyone believes Gerard Stiles is this evil, evil man. And as you're meeting Gerard Stiles, you realize real quick he's not. You're realizing it right away. That this is, something's off here. And you're not sure what. Like, what's going on here? Why is this? It's almost a similar tale of 1897 Quentin Collins. Like, how are we so far off here? Where is this evil Gerard Stiles that we've been shown, right? Well, it turns out Gerard Stiles is not Gerard's. What you saw was Judah Zachary, not Gerard Stiles. Judah Zachary's head comes into play. You know, it's brought over. It's brought back as a present to Quentin, of all people, which I love. Desmond, I give you John Carlin's best character, Desmond Collins. I mean, John Carlin's played a great Willie Loomis, but my favorite character is Desmond. He's holding the separate head in the box. I'm waiting for somebody to give Quentin the pinhead puzzle box for Quentin as a gift. Here you go. Hit that button right there. That one right there in the middle. So you have all this going on, and again, leading into this, again, Samantha is somebody who isn't happy with her husband, isn't happy with her own choices. In many ways, I've said this, she's made herself the heel, so I'm sorry I got off on all that tangent. And, after she sees that Gerard has turned his back on her. He's more buddy-buddy with Quentin. There's the old adage, bros over, the word. And I think that's more what this is for Gerard. It's like, hey, Quentin's my friend. He's always been my friend. Yeah, I married you, but it's not a big deal for me to, not be married to you. So I love that. I love how Gerard Stiles just plays. Again, James Storm does not get enough credit for his acting. Great job. And so you're not seeing a sense of evil from this character. And then the head comes into play. Julia, they try to reassemble Judah Zachary's head to his body. That doesn't work. So the body's gone, but the head's still intact. And one of Judah Zachary's minions, who's played by Humphrey Allen Ostrato, comes into play, and the head possesses Judah Zachary. Or, sorry, Judah Zachary's head possesses Gerard Stiles. My apologies. So, and this is where really things start to begin getting worse slowly but surely for Quentin. He's going to get accused of witchcraft. He's going to be put on trial. His wife, who is, she's not interested in she knows he's not a witch or a warlock, but she doesn't care, and it leads you to believe that she never really did care about Quentin. I mean, look, even prior to this, she's been arguing with Quentin when he comes. They've been arguing, and she really does not help matters by agitating and instigating with him. And where Quentin was, where the Quentin of 1970 parallel time was the heel, you have the opposite here. You have the woman who is the heel. And I love this because, again, Virginia Vestoff doesn't get enough credit for being a heel, because it goes to show you how great James Storm is, because he's stealing the show as Judah Zachary. He was stealing the show as Gerard Stiles. Now he's sort of stealing the show as going back and forth between pretending to be Gerard Stiles and actually being Judah Zachary at the same time. That's how great this storyline is. By the way, Roxanne Drew, you come to learn that Barnabas bites her, and eventually Barnabas gets Roxanne's own brother to stake her in the heart. The Reverend Lamar Trask accuses Barnabas of being a vampire. Angelique, who has come into 1840, saves the day. And again, this is all before 1897. This is the effect of time travel in Dark Shadows. So the events of 1897 haven't happened when you go back to 1840. Therefore, Angelique does not know about 1897. How could she, right? But they tell her. They take... This is what living life through time travel, life as a vampire, all the mistrust, and finally just learning to trust and open up, has led to Barnabas Collins finally going, you know what? I've got nothing left to lose at this point. Because he has seen what destruction in hell has literally looked like. He's got nothing left to lose at this point. Nothing. Even if it is his life. Like, so what? If she kills me, so what? If she turns on me, so what? And so he decides to trust her. And finally, you really see the real relationship of Angelique and Barnabas that you sort of saw that you did somewhat see in 1795 and you saw in 1897, but it really hits at home here in 1840. And it sort of goes to show you that with Virginia Vestoff's relationship with Quentin, Virginia Vestoff's Samantha Drew Collins' relationship with Quentin, that relationship has forever been shattered because Samantha never really loved Quentin, in my opinion. Again, I love Virginia Vestoff's performance. Doesn't get enough credit. There's a lot of great performances in the 1840 arc. Do not sleep on this. Do not sleep on this story. The story as a whole, like I said, it's amazing. So this marriage, I mean, look, it's over. It's over when Quentin goes to trial. Quentin's on the gallows. Finally, Angelique saves them by showing them Judah Zachary's head. And when Judah Zachary gets shot, aka Gerard Stiles, gets shot by I just said his name, John Carlin's character, sorry. And finally he shoots him, and this reveals the head, decomposing, and Judah Zachary's dead. Again, Quentin goes off with Daphne. There's no relationship to be salvaged with Samantha at all, even if she were around, right? There's no, even if Samantha were around, there's no relationship to salvage. There just isn't. So Lamar gets chased into another parallel, into 1840 parallel time. He dies in there, which is interesting. Barnabas, you know, Angelique gets shot by Lamar Trask, is why Barnabas chased her. Barnabas finally, realizes he does love Angelique. You know, he realizes, okay, she's not a bad person. She really did love me. And it took a lot for Barnabas to get this. Look, I know a lot of people who don't like this whole Angelique. This is real convenient baby face turn for Angelique. It's really not. Angelique's baby face turn did not start in 1840. It started in 1897. That's when her baby face turn really started in that storyline, not in this one. But the mayor. So I know I've covered a lot of ground here in these 25 minutes I've been talking. So again, I wasn't trying to get off on a tangent. I know I did a bit, so I apologize. But I wanted to really discuss this Here Comes the Bride, where there's a lot of involvement elements. You have Samantha Drew Collins, who at first is worried about her husband and son, but to me is more worried about her son. And even, I think what David Hennessy doesn't get enough credit for is he's sort of, are you going to testify for Dad? And she lies to him. She doesn't give a shit. Um, Again, this is somebody who looked to frame, who helped to frame her husband by planting a letter. And finally, Samantha Drew, in many ways, Samantha Drew Collins gets exposed in every way. Um, just every way. The way, and I sort of believe this is part of Judah Zachary's ploy just to continue to destroy the Collins family too. I think that's where Samantha Drew Collins, this is where Virginia Vestoff heel. You realize, yes, she's a heel, but she's a pawn in a greater heels game. And this is what I've been trying to lead up to. Judah Zachary is the master heel here because he's using everybody as a pawn. Pretty much every character in this story is going to be his pawn, from Samantha Drew Collins to Gabriel. And yes, I do mean that Gabriel. That's another character retrospective I need to get into. I don't want to get into it here, but every character he tries to use a pawn. It's Tad, even he's trying to again. He even uses Julia. This is not the first time Judah Zachary has used Julia as a pawn. So there's a lot of pawns in Judah Zachary's arsenal. In many ways, he almost uses Angelique as a pawn. Angelique tries to kill Quentin. Not. Then she finally figures out, okay, this is whoever the real Judah Zachary is, and she pokes the needles, and finally Gerard Stiles, who is now Judah Zachary, comes after her. The marriage of Samantha Drew Collins and Quentin Collins was always doomed. Did it need Judah Zachary in their life to destroy it? No, because Gerard Stiles did not destroy Samantha Drew Collins and Quentin Collins' marriage. Samantha Drew Collins destroyed their marriage. Again, she's her own heel, but she also becomes a pawn in a bigger heels game. To steal a quote from the Phantom Menace, there's always a bigger fish, right? There's still a quote from my buddy Mark Gill. There's always a bigger fish, right? Judah Zachary's the biggest fish of them all. He trumps it all. So I hope you have enjoyed this part 10 of Here Comes the Bride. I know I got off on a crazy tangent here, so I apologize. I hope I did a great job by you guys. Again, I want to give a huge thank you to everybody who supports the channel. Just means a whole lot. Thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. Just thank you for all the love and support. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys are doing well. Have a great day.